Welcome to Michigan Reimagined, a Spotlight podcast. And here's your host, Chris Buck.
So every quality community has a quality art gallery, and Lansing is no different. Here to give us an update on our Lansing Art Gallery and Education Center and some big news about their facility is the Executive Director, Barb Whitney. Welcome, Barb.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Or should I say welcome back?
Yes.
You've been here a couple of times, and I'm just really excited not only to just tell your story again, but to talk about this new endeavor you're embarking on as we speak. So to start us off, talk a little bit about the origins of the Lansing Art Gallery and Education Center. How did you guys get started, and when did you do so?
Oh, sure. We were founded in 1965. Okay. So going into many decades of work in the area, part of what we're working toward is hearing from our community about what they'd like to see and who they'd like us to be. We have a mission to provide public awareness, education, and enjoyment of the visual arts by promoting the works of Michigan artists.
Got it. And visual arts, does that, just what does that definition entail?
Oh, it can be somewhat broad, and yet can be inclusive of everything ranging from works you might purchase for a home or an office, like printmaking or painting, or it could be fine craft, like woodworking or ceramics or glass. Or right now in the gallery, we have a number of very interesting ways of printmaking, including a series about mokuhanga, Japanese printmaking, right? So it can be very specific.
That's where that's the education part comes in, because you got to learn how to pronounce it and then understand what it means. Okay.
That's part of it for sure. Pronunciation is key.
Right. No doubt. So I joke a little bit, but the Education Center is a part of your title that is not common with art gallery. I'm in the Philadelphia Art Gallery. I went to this art gallery. I went to that art gallery, but you go to Lansing's Art Gallery and Education Center. What does that exactly mean, and why is that so important to your mission?
I think the educational piece of our work is, started during our founding and is part of our mission, as you heard. The educational piece is built into it. Started being evidenced very formally in programming in the 80s. We founded a program. Our high school show is in its third decade. Okay. We have work that we've been doing in the Lansing public schools for many, many years, working in after-school programming or otherwise helping students learn that way in terms of skill building around the arts. And then we have a real vested staff that has strong feelings about making the arts accessible. And so education is one of those inroads to offering accessibility to the arts and helping people learn about the arts so that they feel comfortable engaging in the arts, coming to something like a gallery space and feeling it's for them, because it is. Right.
And so if you're, dare I say, in a larger city, I think of art galleries, Picasso's and Rembrandt's, and people have found these, and the local benefactors let you hang them for 6 months or whatever, and then they leave and all that, and nothing's for sale. Like an art gallery from a big city perspective is a place you go and you observe stuff, and it might look different if you come back year after year. But your gallery, it's really meant to highlight artists, and everything in there is for sale, or no?
We have 4 components of the work. Okay. And when you first come into our space, you see a retail gallery that has, again, accessible options to purchase. So we have a lease purchase program that's kind of unique, or you can try it and buy it later, or you can do it on a purchase plan just for easier terms. Yep. That's always available. Work's always available for sale. Sometimes in our exhibition space, it's available for sale, and sometimes it's not, depending on the artist's choice. So that might be one artist's show for their, a huge body of work that they've been producing from a Michigan artist, or it might be a statewide competition, a certain demographic, like our statewide printmakers show that may be coming up this year, or right now, the Michigan-made holiday art exhibition that has both items for sale and works from over 60 artists in our about 4,000 square feet of the space. And then as part of that, and as an adjacent component, we have all of the educational activities, including art kits and programs for people with varying abilities. And, it's just so exciting to help people learn in the arts.
So unlike most art galleries, there is a room, and I've obviously been in there because I know it exists, but there's a room back there where there are classes and workshops and things that people can come in and get their hands dirty, literally, correct?
And during the pandemic, a lot of that has moved to a virtual opportunity for learning. So we used to do what we would call make and take, right? So you come in, you get supplies, you create art, and then you take it home.
Right, okay.
But now they're take and make. So you can come in, learn about the art while you're on site, get a kit, take it home. There's a video that teaches you more. Okay. And all of the sort of didactic, is what we call it, around the supplies and how you can use them.
Okay. It seems like a good place to let people know where they can learn more about that. Is there a website, social media that they can tune into?
Yes, it's lansingartgallery.org for our website. And we are on all the social media. Well, I'm not sure how far we're into things like TikTok, but we do have
Snapchat.
We have Facebook.
Yep.
We have Twitter. We have Instagram. I think our Instagram is pretty good from what I hear.
Sure. I'm sure it is. That's great. Okay. And then you mentioned Michigan artists. Is that a kind of requirement to be shown in your gallery, or how does that work?
Sometimes when I'm not sure how much people know about the arts, I just say they're all Michigan artists all the time because it's part of our mission. So in every facet of the work we do, whether it's offering opportunities for them to teach, to sell, or to exhibit their art, we work with Michigan artists in all those ways.
Okay. Got it. And we just bought a painting off the wall a couple of days ago. It was the second one in the series, The Birds.
We're so grateful, Chris. It's awesome.
Well, we love it. And I'm a Michigan artist, and you've got this big array of all the birds that she's painted and nice colors and stuff. So my wife's like, I love that bird and I want that one. And I love this bird now too. And I want this one as well. So
it's so exciting for us to foster collections. When we see people make that inroad, feel comfortable coming to the space, learn about the art, purchase the art, take it to their own home, and then support Michigan artists in that way. That is just... wow, that feels like a moment to celebrate.
Right. And it is. Tell us a little bit about like shows. Do the artists come in? Is there like a schedule of traveling artists? It's like, hey, for this week or this night. And is there a membership that you get on an invitation list where you pay a fee to be able to come in and meet artists? Or how does that whole work? What is your setup?
We're free and open to the public when we're open to the public. And that has been changing throughout the pandemic. Right now it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 11 to 3. People can just come in during those times without an appointment, free, and see and enjoy, and should they choose, purchase and take the make kits. Yep. And then in addition to that, though, it's important, I think, for us to say we do statewide calls for participation for all of our artists for all of our programs. So whether that's opportunities to teach or to sell or to exhibit, we have a pretty massive press list, and we promote that publicly. And then we do a call. We usually schedule about 2 years worth of artists at a time. Wow. Monthly or bi-monthly, depending. So our high school shows a month. Okay. And then most of the other shows are 2 months. So for example, in May, June, we might have artists from Mount Pleasant showing, or we might have a statewide collection of a specific media. But every year we have our high school show. We have our holiday show, November, December. Yep. And then every year we also do our Ingham Student Art Exhibit, which is through the Michigan Education Leadership Group and through the Ingham ISD. And we have some of that work on site in our student gallery as well. Okay. So how are you governed? Fundraising, kind of how does the mechanics of your whole organization operate? We're a nonprofit organization, so we have a board of directors. Okay. And they are responsible for hiring and firing the executive director, among many other things. Governance, giving, and ambassadorship is the way we think through their work, creating strategic plans, making sure that the staff's enacting the mission. And then the staff is really the heart of the work, charged with how programs help the community get access to the arts, whether that's our Art Has No Barriers program or one of our exhibits, or whether it's helping people understand they can start collecting and buy art. Right, right. So now, does the sale of your art cover a significant portion of your overhead, or is it fundraising? Is it donations, sponsorships? How does that all work? The budget breaks down to primarily still grant funded, although that model is changing some. And as a nonprofit, we are eligible to apply for grants that help us with operations, that help us with programs, and that help us with special projects too. But then we also have membership, we have sponsorships of programs, and we have the sale of artwork. The sale of artwork covers about maybe a quarter of our operating costs.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And I think that's important for the listeners to know, right? Because, you can go in and enjoy and you could decide whether you buy something or not, but understand that there's a lot more economics that go behind keeping it viable.
Absolutely.
So that's great. So you've got a big move coming up. Yes. I almost forgot to get to the whole punchline, the reason that you're here. So I just kind of buried the lead by saying a move coming up, but why don't we talk about that a little bit? So you are going to be relocating your operation. Talk about where you're headed.
We're moving about 3 blocks. About 10 years ago, we moved 3 blocks from the Lieberman's building to our current space, and we're going to move just south of our current space. The Knapp's building is just a treasure in downtown Lansing and was redeveloped by the George Ide family a number of years ago. We're going into the former runway space, which was designed as a fashion incubator a number of years ago.
Right, I remember that.
It's gorgeous. And when the board was making the call for next steps, that was one of the deciding factors, because it's a space that feels designed to be aesthetically pleasing, to be above ground with natural light and nearby dedicated parking. Those were all of the tenets that our community said they wanted when we surveyed our community. So we're just thrilled.
Right. For those who don't know Lansing all that well, so Washington Square is kind of the main arterial north-south, right at the crossroads of our downtown near the state capitol, and that's where the vibrancy is. Mm-hmm. Knapp Center is kind of on the southern end of that, maybe middle southern part of that Washington Square. And it's a phenomenal building. Was it 5 or 6 stories? And
it's enormous.
And it was the Knapp's department store historically, and it had been emptied and kind of dilapidated. I've acknowledged to the world that I've only lived in Michigan since 2008, and my memory of pre-refurbishment of the Knapp Center is a little bit fuzzy, but I know that the George F. Ide family put a monumental amount of money and effort into beautifying and refurbishing the space, and I think their offices are in there as well.
Right.
But it's really something to see. So the next time listeners who are not from Lansing come to Lansing should go and just at least drive by, if not walk by, and certainly go into the Lansing Art Gallery and Entertainment Center, Education Center.
Close, because our previous guest was talking about the connection between arts and entertainment.
Right, arts and entertainment. That's why it's on the mind.
That's true too.
Right. But the Knapp Center is just a beauty to behold. And I can only imagine what you're going to do with it as activating a ground level space. Because right now, for those who don't know, you're in a basement, which
subterranean,
is
as our architect would say.
Yes, but it's cool, right? I mean, you've made it work, and it's welcoming and pleasing and aesthetically nice. But there's got to be an excitement about being above ground and on the first floor with natural light and windows and all that kind of stuff. And the people passing by, that's got to be really exciting for you.
Yes, the street front footprint was one of the other things people were asking for. They said, we'd like to see you more visibly above ground, but also the windows. Those display windows are gorgeous. Yes. And what a way to display art in a space that has more foot traffic and that offers the community 24/7 exposure, not just on the website, but in some really beautiful displays as well. And we're dreaming big as far as how we could even encroach upon the sidewalk and do some things into the street and in the parking lot across the street. Already talking with Kathleen Edgerly from Downtown Lansing Inc., who has helped us with each step of the move and what that could look like if we dreamed even bigger.
Fantastic. So now we're recording this in early December of 2021. Where are you at in the process as of this time, and when do you think you'll be open for public consumption?
We will be moving between the holidays and hope to reopen in the early part of 2022. We're firming up our exhibition schedule right now with our artists. And I just saw some of the construction in the space, so that was exciting. We hope to have walls and paint and the rest of the space laid out by, I don't want to say a date exactly, but early 2022 is looking good for reopening dates. And then we'll also do our public art programming next summer. started to say all the different programs and wanted to make sure I didn't neglect to mention that.
Okay.
We'll do our public art along the river trail for our 5th year of outdoor art programming as well.
That's great. That's great. So I would imagine that there's going to be some buzz. And as you get closer to a date, is there going to be some sort of a grand opening and a community event? Because it seems to warrant that.
I imagine we'll be doing some soft opening kinds of things and some loud opening kinds of things.
Best kept secret's not a great business plan, Barb.
We always like to make sure everyone feels they're welcome and that the opportunity to gather is in a variety of ways, especially during the pandemic. We want to make sure people feel safe. Mm-hmm. One of the ways we did that recently was rather than having, you know how you go to that gallery, you have wine and cheese,
yes,
etc. And we did a food truck outside instead. And so, people loved that. They enjoyed engaging out on the sidewalk with heaters and engaging with one another in what they felt to be a safe outdoor environment.
Yep.
And then indoors was masked, safe, scheduled. And we were able to have 150 people within 4 hours, but we didn't have to do it where people were shoulder to shoulder.
Okay.
One of the ways that we've been navigating the pandemic to make sure that we keep everyone safe and secure.
Wonderful. Well, it's exciting to talk about what you've already accomplished, and the new move is just going to refresh all of your ideas and energy. And I mean, I think the after is going to be phenomenal. So make sure I'm on the mailing list. If I'll keep an eye on the website and social media platforms, but I'm really looking forward to seeing your new digs. We've been speaking with the executive director of the Lansing Art Gallery and Education Center, Barb Whitney. Thanks so much for being back.
You're welcome. It's always a joy to see you.
Thanks.